Greetings, my beloveds. My name is Renaticus, and I'm here today as I felt called and inspired to come on and share with you and talk about a soul's calling and how do we really know when our soul is calling us forth. And I can just share with you that my own journey of my soul calling me forth and moving in the direction or beginning to spiritually awaken began back in the year 2012. And this was before my first daughter was born, or just prior to that. And a soul's calling is, how do we know? It's, we can experience in life these sort of whispers, these innate feelings within that all of a sudden give us an idea or a feeling that we should be going somewhere or meeting with someone, or we feel like we're being called in a different direction to experience something we've never experienced before. And often initially on a soul's calling or as we begin to awaken, it usually is something that is really out of the ordinary of our day-to-day lives that we've been experiencing. And I know for myself, way back, I was very much living in the reality of just, getting up and going to work. And I had a professional career as a dental hygienist. And nothing could have prepared me for the changes that were going to take place from that time until now, when I'm talking to you today. And it all sort of began for me was probably in those quiet moments, right? Like before bed, when we're a little bit still, or taking a walk in nature, or perhaps in the wee hours of the morning when we first wake up, before we really get engaged in our daily activities, our daily responsibilities. There can be sort of a something within, an inner voice that is calling you to do something or experience something or pay attention to something that's out of your norm. And a lot of times it doesn't really make sense. We sit there and we might analyze, like, why? Like, what is this for? This doesn't make any logical sense to my daily life and my daily routine. But if we really start to listen to that inner voice, and I want to be really clear about a soul's calling, and how do we know that it's really our soul that's calling out to us, or our higher self, the spiritual aspect of ourself that is calling out to us to expand and grow. And that inner voice is not the one that often is chatting on one side in your mind and is afraid and fearful and saying, oh, don't do this, that's not safe, be careful, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that. Oh, do you remember the last time you did something out of the ordinary and this bad thing happened and we don't want to do that again, right? So that tends to be the inner chatter of the ego. And the ego is always trying to distract us. It wants to keep us small, keep us safe. And that's not the voice I'm talking about. The voice, the inner whisper, your soul calling, your your higher self calling, that spiritual side of you or aspect of you. It's a loving presence, and you will receive sort of a feeling of an innate knowing that this is something important that you should be listening to, and perhaps thinking about, or perhaps considering to act on some of those things that this loving presence is sharing with you. And this loving presence will never force you to do anything. It will just gently guide you because it sees and knows the vision for your life, the bigger picture, the grandest vision, of your life and all that you are and all that you can become. So this inner being, this inner voice, this inner whisper, this part of your soul, which is really connected to this spiritual aspect of you, this eternal essence of you. I would say it is a beautiful eternal essence, eternal whisper that is calling you forth to move in a certain direction. And sometimes, it might feel a little crazy, or like, wow, I've never done that before, or why would I talk to that person, or why would I try that, or why would I want to look at those uncomfortable feelings that I've, that uncomfortable trauma or feelings or hurt from the past. Why would I want to look at that and embrace that and heal that? Or why would I want to experience this over here? There's just no way of rationalizing this eternal essence that is within you. There's no possible way to really make sense of it with the analytical, logical mind. But all I can tell you is that if you begin to listen to this eternal essence within you that is all-knowing, and there's a part of you that knows, that innately knows that there's some truth to it. You just know there's some truth to what this inner voice is calling you forth to experience. And if you can just begin to trust that, it will guide you, and it will unlock the most beautiful, grandest parts of you that you have never seen, or you just haven't remembered yet, right? So your soul is calling you forth to remember all that you are, to awaken to the remembrance of the grandest vision of you. And it's more than just you in this physical body in your day-to-day life. It's so much more. And when you begin to tap into that, it begins to mirror and reflect in your life as you begin to grow and expand and transcend limitations and suffering that you have been hanging on to for so long. And there's really a light at the end of the tunnel. Your soul is just guiding you to that light, to the highest expression, the highest remembrance of all that you are. And it's really quite simple. It's just listening to that eternal essence of you and trusting it trusting in the path that it is laying before you, right? And we can experience resistance to that, to something that seems so not logical, right? Not fitting into the logical day-to-day things that we analyze and see and experience. It is outside of that box. So it requires us to reach up, to reach out for something, something beyond our daily lives. It requires us to have faith and to extend ourselves. Just, if you can just extend yourself a little bit beyond that comfort zone and allow yourself to just listen just a little bit to that eternal essence that is calling you forth. That's all that's required is just an earnest heart and listening, and then ask for, okay, I'm listening, so guide me, and then trust in these little ideas, these synchronicities, these things that show up, these impulses that come from within for you to take action in the outer world in a new way, to experience something different. I'll give you an example. So when I was first on this journey and it was just beginning, my father had passed away, and it was obviously a very hurtful time, and it was sad because I was really close with my dad and I admired him. He was always optimistic, even in the times of challenge, in the times of really difficult things. I saw how much his soul essence was so loving, and so forgiving of all the challenging experiences he had to witness in the choices that I made early on in my life as I was growing and learning and expanding. And he just had a calm peace about him that, and I'm getting teary-eyed talking about it. He had a way of always comforting, right? Always saying, I still love you. It's okay. Everything's going to be okay. And so when he passed away, this innate connection, I felt like he was calling to me. He was still there. He was letting me know that he was there, and he had given me just a thought, right? I felt his presence. I felt his breeze pass by me. I felt him near me, and his essence was giving me something specific and saying, call this healing place and explore Reiki. And Reiki is like a Japanese healing modality. I didn't really know much about it. I had only really in passing heard about it once 5 years prior. And I even tried one session to experience it, and it wasn't for me at the time. It wasn't. I was like, no, I'm not ready for this, not sure about this. And that was 5 years prior to my dad's death. So I tried to rationalize what this message was and say, well, this doesn't make any sense, right? Like, where is this coming from, and what does this mean? And nothing in my rational mind was making sense of it, right? Nothing. And I tried to ignore it, right? I thought, well, I'm just going to ignore this because it's just stuff that I'm making up in my mind, and it just doesn't make any sense. So I tried to ignore it, and that week, every single day, this presence, this loving presence was with me and was giving me the same message. And I began to feel this pressure on my chest as the week went on, as I was ignoring it. And it was this intense pressure, almost like someone was standing on my chest, and I felt like I was out of breath. I was getting out of breath. I thought, until it just became so intense. I was actually going to the store, the grocery store, and I was sitting in the parking lot ready to go in, and the intensity of the pressure on my chest, and I could describe it maybe as like I couldn't really breathe very well. It felt really heavy. There felt like someone was standing on my chest. It almost felt like anxiety or some sort of stress. And I received this idea, or this place of where I could get more information, right, about this Reiki. And so I called, I Googled it, I picked up the phone and I made a phone call, and that was the beginning of my awakening. That was the beginning, just the beginning, the scratching of the surface of what was going to transpire. And I followed that, and I took the Reiki level 1 and experienced that, and my journey continued from there. And now today, I just share with you, like, I guess 10 years later, I am a fully awakened spiritual being, listening to my soul's calling every single day. What is my soul, my higher self calling me forth to experience? And on that journey, I closed the door on my professional dental career. All of these other gifts opened up, and I exist to remove internal suffering and to guide you on your path, on your spiritual path of awakening. And all the gifts and all of the callings of and experiences came from me just trusting and having faith and listening to that eternal essence within me, that voice that is like a loving presence that is sort of, it's guiding you forth, right? It's calling you forth, it's bringing you forth. And if we get a lot of resistance, or we feel like I did when I was in the parking lot, and I felt, some people experience this differently, but I felt the physical discomfort of not listening to the message, of not, the message could be something different. It could just be, go to this bookstore, read this book, or call this person, or have lunch at this place, and maybe you're going to meet somebody that's going to give you a piece of the puzzle, a piece of the unlocking for the next step on your growth, your spiritual growth and expansion. Because it's all perfect. There are no accidents. There are no mistakes. There are no, or I believe that there are no, what's the word? I cannot think of the word right now. It's just elating me. But it's just, things are always happening for a reason. We are meant to experience different things. And sometimes when we are not listening to our soul, we're not listening to that eternal essence that that loving presence that is calling us forth for growth, for eternal growth and expansion and transcendence of all our limitations, all of the suffering we have had, all of the limiting beliefs and judgments and self-judgments and judgments of others and all of that stuff. Our soul is just calling us forth to remember all that we are and to become that and to be that. And when we don't listen, right, the discomfort between our human earthly self and our higher self or our spiritual self or our eternal essence that's calling us forth, that's when it becomes very uncomfortable, and we can face some really challenging things. And it's just because we're not listening and we're not guiding ourselves, we're not leading ourselves forward on the path that we really truly chose to experience when we came here. We came here to grow and to expand and to transcend and to master mind over matter, right? To really create. You are a co-creator of your reality. You are a co-creator with the collective. You are a co-creator with God. Okay, this eternal essence. And so, and whether you're doing it unconsciously right now or consciously, it's just wherever you are on the path. There's no right or wrong. You're not behind, right? It's all divine timing, and to just trust in that. So, my beloveds, I just wanted to share with you, what I was feeling about sort of being able to recognize this eternal essence, this soul's calling within you, and to embrace it. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to embrace it, right? You will have, I promise you, you will have so many times this other voice that will tell you, don't do that. Play it safe. Oh my gosh, if you leave your job, these are all the terrible things that can happen. How are you going to support yourself? Is this ever going to work out? That's just one example, right? Or, maybe you're in a relationship that is toxic. I've experienced that in the past myself. And that's part of your journey, and maybe it's time to call yourself forth to a place of loving yourself so much that you get to choose how you're going to be treated, and that you have value, and that you are loved, and that you do have this eternal essence within you, this beautiful light, this amazing being that is unique. And everyone has a beautiful, unique essence and unique divine gifts to share with this world. Everybody. Nobody's exempt from that. So it's all in your listening, in your choosing, in your deciding to listen and to have faith and to follow your heart, right? Follow your heart. Follow that loving presence that is calling you forth to be all that you are, to discover and awaken to remember all that you are, this beautiful, divine, spiritual being made of pure divine love and light. So, my beloveds, thank you for listening and sharing in this space with me. I care for you, and I send you all love and so much blessings. So God bless you all.